Then, okay, welcome everybody. And as I said, I hope I will be able to share something interesting for you. You've already been listening to a lot of interesting conversations and seen nice polls about what people think will be interesting. And I cannot agree more that AI and data is what will come in the future. And it's not what will come, but what is already here. So without further ado, I will go forward and I'll do like everybody else, just very quickly tell you who I am. And I'm Brian Madsen. I'm not one of the owners of Cars2Click. And Cars2Click is a European car trading company. And we also own a company called Cars2View, which is our data company. And we have Cars2Transport, which is our international transport company. We do all our own transportation. And as of today, we actually have a new department, which is LCV trading, like commercial vehicles. And I'm very happy for that. Okay. While we are talking about AI and data is, of course, because we are working with that, but also because we were lucky enough to be the winner with our AI solution last year, 2020, for Fleet Europe. And I'm going to explain how we are using this in our day of trading cars and how that helps us improve. Okay, so what is important is to look at how to use AI and data to improve your sales. And it's not just that it's there. It's like you need to use it in a specific way for it to make some kind of difference and create benefit for you in the way you work in your daily life. So we're looking at it on two different ways. And one is the B2B remarketing, which is the open market, similar to auctions, but we do not do auctions, we do trading. I'll come back to why. And then also OEMs, manufacturers, how they should be using the same tools to actually improve their sales through their own networks. What you can do with data and with artificial intelligence is that you can improve the process of identifying, selecting, and then go to action. And I think that is where the heavy part of remarketing is today, that we are spending a lot of time identifying and selecting who we want to talk to and then put people into action. So it's too many hours spent on selling one car. And this is what we are trying to change and what we set out to do. I'll just give you one little inspiration here about a German e-commerce giant called Otto. It's similar to Amazon, but I think what they have done is actually very, very interesting. And what they've done is they use AI, and this is the kind of deep learning algorithms they are using, and they can actually understand what their customers are going to do. And the number I'm going to show you now will surprise everybody, but this is actually what they are doing on a daily basis. And this is that they can predict 90% of the sales that will happen within the next 30 days. 90% accuracy. Just imagine if we could do the same with the selling cars, that we knew for 90% of the cars what will sell within the next 30 days. That means the car dealers would not need to have cars in 60 or 90 days. That we even heard one already using data has a 90-day stock on average. And it's possible with data to reduce that quite a lot. And the time is money, and stock turn is a lot of money. So how do we then start working with this? So the way we are looking at this is retail trends. So what you do with the AI is that instead of looking at pricing and historically what you did, you try to predict the retail trends. And retail trends, of course, is based on what people are clicking on, what people are doing, what they're saying, what they bought in the past, and so on, so on. But it's also about something else, and it's about knowing your customers, knowing your buyers. So you need to, each buyer needs to have a profile. We are all unique. Someone wants a white t-shirt, someone wants a red. We always, all of us needs to have that kind of profile. And AI can do that. And more importantly, AI can update this on a daily basis, which we cannot do if we want to do it in an Excel file or customer system or whatever. The other thing is that if you have all the trends, you know what to do, and you know who's going to do what, then you need to be proactive. You cannot sit and wait. You need to be proactive. And again, you need to build your data. You need to build your AI to help you be very proactive in the way you're working. And all of this will help you save time. So, but we talk about data. And when we talk about data, we also need to talk about data quality. I'm happy that we were talking about this before. And some of them were talking about pricing in different countries and so on and so on. I will come into that in a little bit. But when you have data, there's two kinds of data, like the DMS data, which is the right data, where you have all the transactions, you know exactly what happened. And then you have the data from scanning. And the scanning is not the best, but DMS is never complete of the whole market. So you need to find a way to combine those two, which is the best of the two worlds, or if you don't have DMS data, then to use scanning data, which is what most of the companies that work with this kind of pricing analysis are using. But data is not just data. You need to put that data into smart data. And you can just imagine that we are scanning, if I look from cars to click and cars to view point of view, we are scanning countries inside Europe. And we are now starting to scan countries outside Europe as well, but let's just concentrate now on the European data. But when we scan data from Sweden or from Spain or from Germany or Czech Republic, then we need to transfer that data. First of all, it's from different websites with different structure. It's also different languages. So we need to get that into our data factory. And in the data factory, we need AI to do what we call normalization. So the data needs to look the same. And that is a huge task, and it can only be done the way I see it with AI. Because it's impossible for people to keep updating mapping and data Excel files or whatever they're doing. But you need to have that transferred. So your normalization, and then you need to understand that data and have it put into smart solutions that can actually be used in our daily work. And this is what we've been doing as well. Now I'll explain why. So what we did, and also what was part of the winning concept for last year, was the geo-pricing. And geo-pricing is not just knowing about what is the price for a specific car in a specific country, but even the VAT structure. You know that the VAT in Sweden is 25, in Germany is 19. So already there you have, from the retail point of view, a different ex-VAT price. But also now we see taxes. We see taxes which are put on top of cars. We even see that taxes, that are not taxes, but money that are given to the buyers are also a part of this pricing strategy. So we need to understand exactly what kind of taxes are happening when you import a car to that country. And well, I'm extremely proud that we actually managed to crack that code. And Frank yesterday sent an article on Fleet Europe about this, because we spent a lot of time on this. And this was probably the biggest challenge of really going to understand pricing, having VAT and tax calculation in the AI. And it was only possible with real AI. The other one is geo sales. We need to understand what is happening in the market. How is the balance looking? It doesn't make sense if you want to sell 100 cars of a specific car into a market where you sell 20 of that car a month. So there needs to be a good balance. Otherwise, you just kill the market and destroy the pricing. So we use the geo sales as well to tell us not just the pricing, but actually the factor if a car is hot or cold, as we call it. Then the other part is geo-matching. And geo-matching is a real game changer, because artificial intelligence, which, as I mentioned before, give each of the car dealers in Europe a profile. That profile will tell us exactly which cars he sells, how fast he sells them, and if he suddenly changes his profile and starts selling other brands or more expensive cars or whatever, then the AI will actually know that and notify us about it. So we will be able to know which country to sell into and which car dealers are the most likely buyers. We even have an algorithm here to deselect the car dealers that are selling cars too cheap, because we don't want to offer them, because they're probably not going to pay the highest price anyway. And all that is then combined into AImaria. And this is something that is completely mad when you look at it. But AImaria actually acts on behalf of me or someone else. And when we then instruct her, and we call her, to do something, she will actually do it on behalf of me, sending email from my email accounts and so on, so on. So I, after that, can continue having the conversation with the customer, and the customer will communicate directly with me. So on a daily basis, I will get information from Maria that today, Brian, I sent this email from you to these and these people. Please be aware this is what I sent them. And all this is then being, it's still something that is being developed and becoming better and better. But already now, last week on Friday, I had a lot. I still have a few customers that I work with, and I sold cars on Friday with the help of Maria, and that is super nice. The other part is that we all want to save time, so we are saving time working like this, but we also need to have our car dealers, the buyers, save their time, because in our world it's not possible to run an efficient car dealership if you buy a car one by one. You need to have a sourcing strategy. You need to know exactly what kind of cars that are fast moving in your market, and then plan which cars you want to buy. So we are working with what we call sourcing, and we are using the data together with our customers, the partners that we have, then they will sit down with the performance manager. They will look into what is hot in the market right now and decide what kind of cars that car dealer wants for the next week or 2 weeks, and plan the delivery so it has just-in-time delivery, and they can continuously increase the number of cars he has on stock and replace the one that he sold. All this is to help them save time. And again, this is data and artificial intelligence that gives us that information so we can help them doing that. Okay, let's now go back to just the details here about how can we compare prices, because that is not something that is very easy to do. First of all, we have this issue that we were looking at for so many years about trim line, and the fact that trim lines are not the same in each country. So if you know the sport line, this is just an example, but if you know the sport line, then we have some equipment in Sweden and another equipment in France, and we even have some examples right now where some cars are actually being produced without standard equipment. We had an example last week where a car that normally have heated seats as a standard didn't have that in the production version they had in that country. They took that out. So it means that very key, very important equipment cannot be monitored on trim level. It's just completely impossible to do that unless you have two cars that are from the same country and they haven't changed anything in that specification they did. So trim lines was something that was an issue, and we decided that we needed to fix it. And then we built the geo-pricing. And geo-pricing, again, is we're scanning all the markets, we're getting all the data, we know what happens. And then we look into two things. We look into the historical data, what happened the last 30 days. So today, 30 days back, tomorrow is 30 days back, -1. And that is the way we are looking at the data from what happened. We need to be careful when we look into market data and only look at what is online right now, because the cars that are online were the cars that, parts of those cars that are online were the cars that was not successful being sold. And normally there's a price difference that shows the reason why. So we need to look into the historical data to learn from that, and we have that as a weighted factor. We also need to look into the market data right now, the current data. And in this case, which is simplified just for explanation, we can see that in Sweden, the price is highest, but in fact, even though the retail price, including VAT in Germany, is lower, the B2B price is higher. These are two countries that are easy to compare because they don't have taxes, but just the difference between 25 and 19% VAT makes a big difference in those two countries. So what we then did is that we said, this works when it's Sweden and Germany because they don't have any taxes, but things are changing all over Europe. And we spent some time talking about how to do this. How can we optimize the calculations around equipment? How can we make all these difficult calculations? And at one point I was tearing my hair off and thinking like this is just too difficult. We can't do this. This is not going to be done. It's mission impossible, as someone said before. But then one day I came up with an idea. Why don't we just work the way back instead of trying to work forward? Why don't we just strip everything? And that's when we came up with the idea of the naked car. And that actually turned out to be the right way of doing it for us. So what we do is that we still look back at similar cars sold. We also look back at similar cars for sale, and then we weight them differently. I'm not going to explain how we do that, but they have different values that they go into then the base data of a car. The base data of a car is then stripped for all equipment. And then we are then making a lot of different calculations, plus minus age, plus minus kilometers. And then we are adding on equipment value again. And this is something that is done on each brand level. It's done on different segments, different price levels, and different age of the cars. So there's thousands and thousands of calculations on equipments available in this part of the process. And again, only AI can do this. It's completely impossible to do it ourselves. But together with this, we then have a very good price comparison of the cars. And then we can then do the tax, VAT and tax added value to the price. And this is how we build ourselves from retail price all the way back to strip car, and then we build the car up again, and then we compare it. All this is done in our data factory and by AI and computers that are very, very fast. So this is done within split seconds. So again, car younger, more kilometers, base car, more equipment, value. So this is going on all the time as we are looking at it. So there's nothing we need to do. It's something that is done while we're looking at or doing the appraisal ourselves. Okay, so now we know about the pricing. We know exactly the price in each market, X VAT, X tax, and all the things that we need to do to sell cars cross-border. And that means that we then can identify which country we can sell the car for the highest price. When we know the country we can sell the car for the highest price, of course, we do calculations with the cost of transportation and so on inside the system as well. But then we can do the geo-matching. And geo-matching is then when we, through the daily scanning, have all the car dealers scanned and mapped in the system about what kind of cars do they sell, how many cars do they sell of each brand and model, even color. Some car dealers don't like colored cars with a lot of color. They like gray and black, and that's it. We can see that. Then they get a sales profile. This sales profile is updated every day. And then we have geo-matching. And then with geo-pricing, we know the country. And with geo-matching, we then know the buyer. This way, we get really, really efficient of knowing what to do and who to sell to. And this way, we don't need to put cars online. We don't need to send out thousands of emails. We just need to communicate with those few buyers that we think will be the most likely. And they will then be prioritized, and that saves time for everybody. And also more important, we don't spam people with a lot of emails, because why should we? There's no reason for people to read an email if they're not going to buy the car anyway. Okay, so now we know where to sell, country, we know who to sell to, but that doesn't mean that they actually buy the cars from us. Maybe they don't read the emails, maybe we don't follow up on them, maybe they don't come back. There can be many reasons. So what we do is that we actually monitor how they are performing and how we are performing towards them. And this is a mock-up I made here. So this then becomes very, very important for us, because what we can see, in this case, we have an example of a car dealer that sold 121 cars. In this, he bought 54 cars from us, so 45% of his sale, he buys from us. This looks quite nice. And if we look into his stock turn and his sales, then everything is also good. He's a fast seller. He's performing very well, and we are performing well with him. But going into the details of this, then we can actually see that he's quite good on BMW, and he didn't buy anything from us. So that's an indication from us that we need to do something. And again, the AI will help us, and they will. Our traders will on a daily basis get reports about car dealers where we have what we call lost opportunities, and then we need to focus on that and either contact them with the AI or contact them directly. And this is why we still think that people are very, very important in this process. We get a lot of help to be smarter and faster, but it's still a people business. And I think it's going to be quite a while before that will change. But data and AI will help us become faster and more efficient. Okay. One thing that we think is very, very important is car dealer performance. Just imagine that the more cars, car dealers are, sorry, this is from the OEM point of view. The more cars that are sold to the dealer network, normally the franchise dealers will be able to get a little higher price than the gray market. So for an OEM to focus on selling a lot of cars to their own dealer network makes sense. First of all, they will get more money inside the OEM. Of course, they sell more cars to their own dealer networks, and normally they get a higher price. The other thing is that they actually build their own dealer network to become very, very strong, because the dealers become better and they become more profitable. And that actually goes straight into the pricing that they get. They can get a higher price, which goes into residual value and into the TCO calculations. And then eventually when you do a subscription model for your new cars, you are more compatible. So it makes sense for an OEM to look into how to work with the remarketing and through their own dealerships. And again, it's data that needs to be done in the right way, and it needs to be smart data. A car dealer does not have the money to invest in all these very expensive tools, so we need to help them. What we then did is that we have created AImaria for car dealers, and these are dashboards that will help the car dealers to understand when competitors change prices, if they have forgotten to put information or photos online, if the cars are fast moving or slow moving, if they have too high prices, too low prices. So all this is ready, and we can then on dashboards for car dealers as well. We even created a new trade-in functionality, so car dealers can, with an app on the phone, can make a description of a car in any showroom, and a pricing manager locally essentially can use the data we have to set the pricing and make the right calculations and communicate back with the salesperson in the shop how much he can pay for a given price. This way you get a lot more structured approach to your trade-ins and can control what to buy and what to sell retail. So with that information, we can then build a network performance monitor. So again, for an OEM, it's possible to have access to the same kind of data that we give access to the car dealers, so they can monitor their shops, but the OEMs can also monitor their network. And the way we do this, again, a mock-up, just not to show correct data, but as example, then we show how many dealers are in your market, how many cars were sold by all those dealers, and how is the average days to sell for those dealers in the market of all the brands, right? And then, again, just example, we show how many cars of that specific brand were sold, the average sales days, and the market share. And then if we look into the dealer network, then we can say how many dealers were in that market, how many cars did they sell of all the brands that are available or they sell, and the average sales days, and again, how many of your own brands did your own dealer sell. And this is something that is very, very important, because what you need to know is how many cars are being sold outside your dealer network, where the residual values actually are being pushed down by the number of cars and the prices they are often sold for outside your own network. With that, you have access to top-down, country level, dealer level, but even you have access to dealer one by one, so you can see exactly how they are performing. So this is something that we luckily have, we are using it ourselves to monitor our own sales, but also, like I said, we can see if you are selling cars B2B to your dealers, you can monitor who's buying cars, who's not buying cars, and make sure that you actually activate them if they're not buying enough. Okay, last but not least, we believe that the way of working, we have kind of turned everything around a little bit. So we built these AI and data solutions in order to help car dealers, because the better the car dealers they get, the more cars they sell, and the more cars they sell, the more cars they need. And if we are good in what we do, we have easy, fast quality and service, and we are nice partners for the car dealers and the buyers, then everything here points back at us. And since we started, I think this has proven to be the right concept for us. We grow every day, we grow more and more, and even during COVID, we've been managed to stay quite healthy. And we strongly believe in this, and we will continue to build and develop solutions that will help car dealers and OEMs become more profitable and faster in what they do. So, geo-pricing, geo-sales, geo-match, dealer monitor, and artificial intelligence, we think this is the perfect match. Okay.
Brian.
So.
Thanks very much for, and you kept a very close eye on the timing, which is good. But maybe I still want to get one of those, the questions that was in the chat through you. Did changes in behavior due to COVID-19 change anything of your existing processes and algorithms, for example? Did you have to adapt, or?
No, the algorithms didn't change because they are dynamic, and they are also always taking everything into account. So the algorithms are built the way they are, and they are being updated constantly. So that's not because of COVID. That's a normal process, that the more data we get into the AI will update itself. That's the nature of AI. What happened for us was that we thought when we started, when we started the company in February 2019, Fredrik started selling cars, and then in June I joined with this artificial intelligence idea, and we didn't expect that we would grow so fast, and we will be now. We are in 13 countries now. We will open up in 2 new countries next month. We will, during summer, expand outside Europe already, and all this is come to us because of people that have contacted us. People that contact us and say, hey, we would like to be part of this. So what has happened is actually that car dealers which are very important part of this remarketing process, have come to us and said, hey, I want to use data because I need to be faster. So I think COVID have, as bad as it's been for everybody, have helped us become, how to penetrate into the market a lot faster than we expected we would. So that's positive. And some of the car dealers that we are working with that are using our data on a daily basis, they are right now, they're performing quite well. And I'm very happy to see that we have customers that come back every day and say, Brian, this saved me. I thought I would have to close, and now I can actually use this data, and I know exactly what to do and what not to do. And I'm really proud of what we're doing, because, as I said, our mission was to see, we said we need to help car dealers. And when we started doing that, and we can see how we are helping car dealers, and now also how OEMs are coming to us and say, hey, we want to do the same. We can see the benefit of helping our car dealers become better and more profitable, because that helps us in the other way. Then the wheel starts spinning, as I showed before, and it's a joy to be part of this every day. And I know some people are skeptical about data and AI, but it's not about removing jobs. It's about being faster to get the cars to the end user, and not have 6 weeks delivery time. But we are right now, we just looked into February month. We have not bought one car in the same country where we sold it. So all is cross-border. The other part is that 60% of the cars, a little more than 60% of the cars we sold, was sold, pre-sold. They were not yet home, because we also are using the AI to actually do estimated damage calculations. And I'm not going to go into that now, the time is not for that, but we made a complete mapping of estimated damages on different models from different sellers, different age groups. And that gives us the opportunity to pre-sell car with estimated damage cost. So the world of AI and data, we just started looking at it, but how it can help us, and how it can help the sellers and the buyers and everybody be faster, it's already here. We just need to make sure everybody uses it.
Great stuff. And I think people in this session all agree on this, because I think about 95% of people have stayed until the end. So that's great. And there's another question in the chat, but I propose, Brian, that you go into this, and maybe you can take the connection there. So I would now like to thank you very much for your contribution. And people, feel free to, if you go onto the, on your screen, you can go down into the networking area. And then hopefully we see you back at 4 o'clock on the stage for AI and automated inspection. Thanks very much. And again, Brian, thank you.
Thank you, Johan. Thank you, everybody. And if you want to talk to me, just text me here.